ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies, Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, bird lady.
You all ready to turn the page? Have we had enough misery with the Buffalo Bills loss?
I told the boys of Jags today, I'm excited to talk a little college football for the first time in Lord knows how many days, let alone also preview the Texans, Jags, the Jags' first AFC South divisional game. Glass half full, folks. Maybe that's what they needed. They just needed to play some divisional games. And look, I mean, 6-0 is not going to get you into the dance, but it's certainly a jumping. Wow, words are hard. A springboard to potentially turn your season around.
6-0? What do you mean?
Like if you were to win, like if I'm
the
saying,
next six?
yeah, no, if you were able to win like all 6 AFC South games. I'm saying like you
Sweep
haven't
the
played
division.
right. I'm saying if you have not played a divisional game yet, maybe that's what you
can
need.
still look at that.
Right.
Maybe it's possible.
I guess in my head, they've already lost this game in Houston, so I'm already thinking that would be difficult. Honestly, is there a team that you feel confident right now that the Jaguars would beat other than the Titans? Like, I don't know that the I would feel confident about Jags Colts. I did before the season, but I don't anymore.
I will say the Bears, honestly, right now, mainly because I think that the offensive line is just playing so bad and the offense is trying to figure out a lot of things. I feel like it would be that game that could get them on track to getting some pass rush happening and things like that. Defensively, I think it's that game more so to me at this point in time is like whose offense is going to screw up the least is what it looks like when you're looking at these two teams right now.
And look, we can certainly change the Jaguars can change our perception, and we can have a different narrative going into next week. Certainly,
it changes fast.
Yeah, if the Jaguars, let's say all of a sudden the pass rush comes alive, they harass C.J. Stroud, and the offense does start clicking, and Brian Thomas Jr. gets a touchdown, and Christian Kirk gets a touchdown. There are no drops, things like that. Maybe Evan Ingram plays. Then the conversation certainly does change. But for right now, when Doug Peterson's being asked, like, what are their conversations with your boss, a.k.a. the owner of the team, that's when you know things have gone awry.
I just think that I don't want to say they're going to go 1-1 the next two because that's very, very bold. But I do think what Doug Peterson said this morning in his media availability regarding there have been teams that have made the postseason, not necessarily after a 0-3 start, but after losing 3 games in a row, 5 games in a row. That not only includes the 2022 Jaguars, that includes the 2015 Kansas City Chiefs, who he was a part of, and he reflected upon that. They won their first game. Everyone's saying, okay, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson off to the races. And then they lost their next 5 games. So that is where, yes, history suggests if you're 0-3, you're not going to make the postseason, you're not going to make the Super Bowl, yada, yada, yada. But even the San Francisco 49ers, who made the Super Bowl last year, had a 3-game losing streak, an inexplicable 3-game losing streak in the middle of their season. Again,
they got right here, though.
Positive vibes.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe the Jags are just looking for that get-right game. I don't know if it's this Sunday, but it could be.
Maybe going on the road is going to help. That's what we said going into Buffalo because the Jaguars didn't certainly play well here against the Browns in the home opener. There should have been all this enthusiasm and energy, and it wasn't there. So maybe going to play Monday Night Football is going to help. And they laid an egg.
Yeah.
So I think as much as I like to look for positives, I think we're fooling ourselves right now if we're being optimistic that the Jaguars are going to beat the Texans. Speaking of that team, Lance Zierlein will join us at 12:35 to talk all things Texans and how they're feeling. Because look, just like the Jaguars got spanked this past Monday night, the Texans also lost, 34-7 to the Vikings?
Yeah.
Like, they're not feeling super confident right now either.
Yeah, the Vikings are. They're feeling great right now. And I think that's why when you're looking ahead at the Jags schedule, it doesn't feel like you have much breathing room until the end is, I think, what scares me the most. Because obviously you have the Texans coming up. We'll see what that ends up looking like this weekend. Then you're obviously in London, and it's against another divisional opponent. And then the Bears, like I said, who messes up more. But then you have like a stretch where it's the Packers who are winning with Malik Willis. Jordan Love will probably be back by then. I don't know if we know what the Eagles even are right now. They beat the Packers pretty heavily with Jordan Love in week 1, but then lost to the Falcons and then barely beat the Saints. So who are the Eagles? I don't know. That is the Vikings, who are a really good team, and they're probably going to tear up this offensive line. And then you have the Lions, who are a good team. Then you have the Texans again, and then you have the Titans, and you have the Jets. So you're like, okay, maybe there's a couple there. But also Aaron Rodgers is playing like prime Aaron Rodgers, at least he did last week. So it doesn't feel like there's a break. And that's what's the scariest at this point when you're looking ahead.
Jags are 7-point underdogs at mybookie.ag. That is the third largest spread this weekend in the NFL, trailing only the Kansas City Chiefs 8-point favorites over the Los Angeles Chargers, who just lost for the first time in 3 games last week.
The Texans opened as 4.5-point favorites.
That Monday Night Football game got Vegas thinking.
Yeah.
And the Niners are 10-point favorites over the New England Patriots, who everyone was loving on the first 2 weeks of the season, even when they began the year 1-1. They are 10-point favorites. By the way, that's the 1-2 San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. Let's get into some injury updates. Tom Pelissero tweeted this out yesterday. Standout linebacker Foye Oluokun is expected to miss several weeks as he deals with plantar fasciitis. No surgery needed and not a worst-case scenario, but Jacksonville, of course, is 0-3 and now will be without one of its best players for at least a few games. Doug said this morning that Foye, at least as of now, not a considerate for IR, so that means at least he wouldn't have to miss 4 weeks. Everyone else, it seems like Jarian Jones with the shoulder, Anton Harrison with the knee, and Gabe Davis, I forget his injury.
He's shoulder and he's also day-to-day.
Yeah, so everybody else, it seems like, should be able to play. And then Evan, we're still waiting to find out.
Foye Oluokun has missed how many games in his professional career since entering the league in 2018?
I feel like not many.
I would guess less than 5.
Yeah. I feel like he's always there.
1.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised that he's even missed, honestly, 1. I was going to guess
I think
0.
it was COVID, and I think it was honestly probably contact tracing because it was in 2020. So don't quote me on that, but that would be my assessment. And, let's be real. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say this. Dewey Wingard has never been hurt, has never missed significant time in the NFL. And I've said now for a month plus, not that I believe that he's the reason they're losing games right now, and his absence is the reason they're losing games. But I can only imagine the mental taxation on players who are supposed to be, if only emotionally, at the heart of this team, let alone Foye is emotionally, physically, metaphorically, you name it, he is the heart of this team. And now, not only are you faced with a setback of your own and rehab from whatever your injury is, but also just that taxation of the team's losing games, and you have to watch from the sideline.
Yeah, because I was looking at, and I kept wondering in the second half of that game, like where Foye was in general. Do we know any idea when he started, when the injury happened? Because he only played 42% of the snaps this last week, going from 80% the 2 weeks before.
It definitely, I think it was somewhere either in the second or third quarter.
Okay.
So it may have even been the second quarter.
They showed him come off, but they didn't necessarily show an injury.
Yeah.
Okay.
He missed, it wasn't like he was playing the whole game and this was a late fourth quarter injury, to be certain. But to your point, Taylor, that was also something that Doug Peterson spoke of this morning when we asked about the changes that this 24 hours plus of reflection has revealed. He did say that if only by virtue of their depth being tested, the defensive hockey shifts probably going to go away, at least for that back 7. The defensive line, yes. And that's, I think, any football team at any level of competition. You need to be rotating your defensive linemen. You need to keep them fresh. Respect to that. But this idea of rotating your off-ball linebackers, rotating your safeties, rotating your corners, it sounds like that may be the biggest thing that's going to change heading into Houston.
Maybe it should be an evaluation of man defense versus zone, the percentages, and how C.J. Stroud fares against both of them. And look, yes, I understand your philosophy has to shift a little bit when you do have injuries. But at the same time, I don't know that this defense Monday night showed really anything that you would want to say, okay, let's repeat that again. The Texans. So certainly changing things is fine. Again, what's wild to me is the first 2 weeks, I thought this defense had really turned a corner from last season. And so is Monday night the anomaly, or were the first 2 weeks the anomaly?
The good news is that the Texans' offensive line, despite all of the praise that it got last year when it was a makeshift offensive line, it was the most affected by injury offensive line in the National Football League, statistically speaking. And we'll ask Lance Zierlein about this a little more when he comes up in about a half hour from Houston. But that same offensive line is not only racking up penalties left and right, but C.J. Stroud's sack rate, his pressure rate, far greater than it was last season. And part of that is they do have a rotating door at center right now. I believe that'll create some interior push opportunities for the Jags. Whether they maximize it or not, that's what remains to be seen.
Yeah, and it's also a testament to facing the Vikings. The Vikings are one of those teams that right now, super blitz heavy team. They get to the quarterback. They get all sorts of pass rush. And then even when the Texans were playing the Bears got a good amount of pressure on them too. And that was honestly one of the biggest surprises when we played, because the Bears had almost virtually no pass rush last year and have kind of figured that out this year. So it is going against two good defenses, two of the better defenses in the league too, that he's had to face right away. And when it comes to the Jags side of things, I think that is the question, Lauren, is what is the defense actually? And I think you could go both ways with it, because you can say, okay, like they looked good the first 2 weeks and they were playing really well, and then it kind of just fell apart in week 3. Or is it Deshaun Watson's really bad and the Browns don't have a good offense, and the Miami Dolphins, even with Tua, have a lot of things that they kind of had to figure out. You didn't see any of their offense until the second half. So those will be things to keep an eye out on, not only like as we're looking at the Jags defense, like how well they play moving forward, but what does the Browns and Miami offenses look like moving forward too.
Yeah, and the defense did give up long drives in both of those first 2 games, so that was certainly a negative thing against them. So Stroud, according to Next Gen Stats, Stroud is actually inconsistent against man coverage. He completed just 53.7% of his passes for 934 yards and 8 touchdowns against 3 interceptions, with a 90.7 passer rating against man. He was better against zone. So there's some positivity as we turn
and
the
watch
page
them flip
to
it
the
this week.
and then watch them play a lot more zone. Yeah, I do feel like watching that game on Monday night, the Jaguars at least did shift their plan to be more aggressive as far as targeting Brian Thomas Jr. The problem is he just didn't play as well this time. He had the drops. But I did feel like there was a little bit more emphasis in let's get the ball to Christian Kirk. So I do think that they're trying things. It's just, again, the execution or the play designs aren't that good. I'm sure you all saw the Benjamin Solak video where he diagnosed what the Bills did and what the Jaguars did on the same exact play, trying to get a running back out in the
flats.
how
it failed miserably
and
for
how the Bills
Jacksonville.
performed it excellently because they were able to take the linebacker out. And whereas the Jaguars, they did not do that because Brenton Strange is either a second-year player and didn't know what to do. It's a great video, so I highly recommend going and watching it to see the breakdown. But it's those little things. Yeah. One player not executing or the play design not being good enough.
Which is, I've asked this question on, off the record, various people in that building, all different departments. That's the part that bugs me. Is we keep hearing, well, they need to simplify. And Coach Campo has sat here and he has said they need to simplify. Shouldn't one of the easiest simplifications, and again, I have never coached professional football, so I could be wrong. If one of you out there on the text line has 641-1010, even if you want to pretend you coach professional football, please, by all means.
That's what we do every day.
Right. Like, here's my thing. Isn't simplifying the offense taking away the various options of checks and alerts that you have at the line of scrimmage? Isn't simplifying the offense saying to that second-year player, you are doing this when we call this play?
But, or like Benjamin Solak pointed out, why is Brenton Strange the one responsible for taking the linebacker out when it should be a more veteran, experienced player like a Kirk who knows exactly what this play design is supposed to do?
And what does that speak to?
And that's
the
coaching.
Overall offensive operation.
Correct.
Well, and that's what Doug said several times in his presser, and I know we'll listen to some of that sound, but he's like, coaches coach and players play. And honestly, at this point, neither are doing their job.
You got that right. All right, we will keep the conversation going. We'll get to what Dan Orlovsky had to say about Trevor Lawrence on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's not reinventing the wheel, it's making it roll down the field.
Let's keep it rolling.
Listen for the Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville drive of the game.
That's a great drive right there.
On 1010XL.
Keep going. We got to keep going, keep going, keep going.
Hacker here, and the celebration continues on my countdown to 100 pounds. I'm now at 93.5 pounds with only 6.5 pounds to go. That will be a 100-pound swing in just over 6 months. Only a couple of more weeks to go, and I feel awesome. Life-changing and life-saving is what I like to say. Maybe you don't have 100 pounds to lose. Maybe it's 25 like Mike Dempsey, or 40 like Matt Hayes. Whatever your number is, bring it to a weight Awaken 180 and ask them how fast you'll reach it. But Hacker, I've tried other programs and diets before. Why will Awaken 180 work? That's simple. Because if I can do it, anyone can do it. Remember, when I hit that 100-pound mark, we're going to celebrate. I'll keep you updated every week as I get closer. And you can even join in on the celebration. Pick up the phone and make your own 180. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro Jax Roofing. Mike and his guys serve all of Northeast Florida and have been replacing roofs for over 25 years. With Hurricane Helene making its way towards Florida, make sure you have Mike's number and Mike's information. Heaven forbid something should happen to your roof. I'm speaking to you as a homeowner myself. There is no one I trust more than Pro Jax Roofing when it comes to unparalleled quality, workmanship, and taking care of my roof. Call Mike and the Pro Jax Roofing team today for a free estimate or visit projaxroofingfl.com. That's projaxroofingfl.com.
Join Jim Furyk and other legends of the PGA Tour for the 4th annual Constellation Furyk and Friends, presented by Circle K, October 4th through 6th at Timuquana Country Club. Get your tickets now, starting at just $25 for grounds passes. And if you're a country music fan, grab your tickets to see Brothers Osborne at Daly's Place Tuesday, October 1st for the Furyk Foundation concert sponsored by Ring Power. Learn everything you need to know at ConstellationFurykandFriends.com.
Mia here. If you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running that double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL and you will have a massive winning week. Start with college and NFL games on Thursday night. Get signed up now for Virginia Tech traveling to face those Miami Hurricanes. The Canes are 17-point favorites with a total at 55.5 at MyBookie. With the way Miami's been scoring, covering that spread should be no problem. And how about a Thursday night football divisional matchup? The Cowboys travel to face the Giants in New York. The Giants are 4.5-point home underdogs coming off of a win. If you think they can keep this one a close one, be sure to take the home dogs. For a limited time, MyBookie again is bringing back that double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to double your money. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a dust bunny breeder from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Steve Johnson.
Welcome to the show, Steve.
It's great to be here, Alex.
Yeah, you don't have to answer in the form of a question, Steve.
What is this game show?
See, that's another question.
Are you going to ask me about air conditioners?
Yeah, okay. How about we just send the Bueller guys over and you can annoy them with all your questions? Johnny?
That's right, Steve. Bueller Air and Plumbing can answer all your air conditioning questions, repair options, replacement models, and how to make your AC last longer while saving electricity, making sure you are cool.
Where is the parking lot?
You're killing me, Steve.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? You have questions? Call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
He used to catch passes for Spurrier.
Oh, my! What a great catch in the corner!
Now he throws throws opinions at Napier. Chris Doring, Tuesday mornings on The Drill. Brought to you by the personal injury attorneys of Farah and Farah on 1010XL.
When all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail. I'm Dr. George Bari, and like me, I know you have been bombarded with PRP and stem cell treatments from companies that promise the world and charge prices to match. Or the surgeon that convinced you the only way to treat your injuries through surgery. At Bari Orthopedics, we offer the best PRP treatment on the market with prices that won't cost you an arm and a leg. We also have the expertise to treat your injury surgically if that is what it entails. We can discuss all surgical and non-surgical options with you and make sure you get the best treatment available. Come see me, Dr. George Bari at Bari Orthopedics.
We love talking sports on 1010XL, and I9 Sports loves giving kids the perfect way to grow up playing sports. Fall and winter registration is underway. Log on to i9sports.com and see all they've got to offer. Kids 3 and up. You can enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount. Year-round sports all across the First Coast. St. John's, Duval, and Clay. Sign up now for fall and winter. Great locations added like Fort Family Field, Westside Middle, and Duval Charter Bay Meadows. It's all online at i9sports.com.
Mark Watson here to tell you a little bit about hardballcreative.com. It's your online promo haven with thousands of ideas on how to promote your company. We're open 24/7, 365.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dollar, Jay Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Everybody joked last week that the Jaguars were going to get the B team as far as broadcasters because they weren't getting Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. And I feel like about midway through the second quarter, I was kind of laughing, thinking, well, Buck and Aikman picked the better game as far as the Commanders and Bengals
I was going to say, no, hell no. I was like, man, I'm upset I'm not in Buffalo if for nothing else because I wanted to see our good friend Laura Rutledge and Dan Orlovsky. That's what I was upset about. And meanwhile, our
Chris Fowler, too.
And Chris
Louis
Fowler,
Riddick.
right, the whole crew. I referenced those two, not only because of our having had Laura on the program before, but also Dan Orlovsky we're going to hear from in just a second. And finally, because our content associate, John O'Leary, as he was making his way back to Jacksonville from watching that game, reportedly over the loudspeaker at the Buffalo airport at 6 a.m. Last call for passengers, Dan Orlovsky, Laura Rutledge. And so I was like, man, God bless them taking that 6 a.m. flight back after Monday Night Football each week.
It was interesting on the broadcast how Laura was interviewing Von Miller along the sidelines, like right before he was about to run out. And I was like, that's interesting. Literally, someone was like having to come get him. Like she asked,
like you got to play,
questions. Right? Like, hey, we need you to run out at least for your introduction. So I was like, that's an interesting twist that they've added to the broadcast. But all right, so Dan Orlovsky was discussing Trevor Lawrence and breaking down the interception when he overthrew Brian Thomas Jr. Here he is.
Yeah, it feels like every rep Trevor's trying to prove worthy of that number one pick, worthy of the contract. It's the striving for perfection instead of striving for any form of progress. This is the first snap of the game, okay? Just take a deep breath. Now, the route concept, I just want you to watch the throw, okay? Travis Etienne is a check down. He's 4 yards from him. He fires that football to him. That's the first snap of the game. This is the interception. Now, look at how Trevor sets up there. How is your body that regimented, that you're standing straight up? You have unbelievable passing lanes, and then watch how he hops. I mean, he takes a full yard hop over, and to me, that's like a guy that is like almost robotic in that moment, even though it should be so easy. Later on in that football game, Hawk knows this. This is an out to a shallow concept. I watch this and I say, he's chasing things that aren't there. He's feeling things that aren't there. He's spinning in the pocket, even though the pocket is completely fine. I understand how hard this is. Like, I get it. But when you watch him play, it's this tightness of trying to make every rep be the home run almost.
Now, that's where the question of the player development as well as the offensive structure comes into place. The same conversation we were just having when it comes to simplify how many alerts, checks, modifications are there at the line of scrimmage that Trevor is having to call an audible, let alone the fact that if the play call takes a while for him to enunciate at the line of scrimmage solely because it is such a long play call itself. And that's, again, where I'm not smart enough to tell you, like, where you what is simplifying? Because for me, simplifying is each player, when the play is called, there's one option. If I call this, you're doing that, right? Now, does that make things predictable because opponents can then go on film and they can say they run these 7 plays and that's all you need to prepare for? I guess, but if you do those 7 plays well, in the words of the late Corky Rogers, God rest his soul, and you do it better than anybody else, then who cares? You're going to beat them anyways, even if they know what's coming at them. And so that is where I don't know what's happening. But certainly if the player is regressing, that's where, as I said to the boys during the handoff, that's where if you're Shad Khan, you invested $275 million in the player. You need to salvage, protect the player, the asset. You don't have $275 million invested in this coaching staff. And I'm not calling for their jobs right now. I'm just saying if that is the issue at hand, which, by the way, Dan Orlovsky in the second half noted, wow, Trevor looks a lot more relaxed in the third quarter. Granted, he's down 3 scores. But he said,
no pressure there.
But he said, he's like, now you look at the mechanics and they're fine. So why is that tightness existing? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and it's valid questions because it was something I said yesterday where I was like, he's spinning away from nothing multiple times. It wasn't the first time. He did it both games, the first 2 weeks of this season, where he spun away from nothing happening. And that, to me, is a combination of wanting those big hero plays, not wanting to take maybe the easy plays sometimes. This is also something that correlates to the conversation we've had of the lack of throws in the middle of the field, and not whatever it is leading to not having those is also an issue. But I think that in that video, when you watch it, I mean, he had all the time in the world. Like every block was made. It was perfectly. He had the widest open lanes in the entire world to make that throw. And it just didn't play out. It didn't get executed the way that it was supposed to. And that specific one was on Trevor. Not all of them were on Trevor. Not all of them are on Trevor. There are ones that the play call obviously is not given enough time to actually develop properly. There are ones where the offensive linemen get rocked. There are ones where tight end maybe didn't do exactly what he was supposed to do. But there are moments like that where you start to question and what exactly is the issue, because this is something that I feel like in 2022, we would have been talking about that play easily being successful.
The biggest issue to me is that none of this was an issue in July and August. They took the run game down to the studs. They certainly worked on this passing game too. And from April through August, it seemed like they were all on the same page. Those joint practices against the Bucs, the offense looked fantastic.
One padded practice.
Right, one padded practice, but in the preseason games, the offense looked really good. Other than the first few days of training camp, they played some, but other than the first few days of training camp, the offense looked like they knew what they were doing. There weren't going to be these massive issues, and so that's what something has changed between then and now, to me, whether there's a disconnect between certain human beings, whether that means that, yes, Trevor is so spooked by the offensive line, and not just necessarily this season, but going back to last season when he suffered all those injuries. And so now he's acting more like a Blaine Gabbert in the pocket than he acted the first 2 seasons, or really the second season he had in the half of last year. Like, what is the issue? Is it that no one really understands where they're supposed to be? I thought that was fixed from last year. Calvin Ridley's not here anymore, so I didn't think that would be an issue. Like, that's what I don't understand, and we can talk about it for days on end, and we have, and we will continue to do so. But until they figure it out at Everbank Stadium, we are going to have the same conversation over and over again. And so I hope that they are willing to make some wholesale changes, even if we can't necessarily recognize them in watching the game on Sunday.
I also wonder how much it is the pressure to actually need to win, because during the preseason, you don't care. You don't care about the wins. It's not that win-loss record isn't going under the win-loss column of the season. And in 2022, when they were playing really well and what felt like the most cohesive they've ever been and best offense that they've ever been, it wasn't pressure. It was more so like, cool, like, oh, we're starting to win some games. We may make the playoffs. That'd be really cool because we'd have this great turnaround. Last year, when they needed to win games, they couldn't win games. This year, when they needed to win a game last weekend to not start 0-3, they couldn't win a game. And some of that, again, is on Trevor. Like, is he not that guy who, in the games when you absolutely need to tally the win, can he make the plays in the big moments? And that comes down to even the smaller parts of the game, of his struggles on third down and his struggles in the red zone. And then the game overall, 1 quarter of good football is not going to win you many football games.
No, not at all. All right, we'll get to the Texans side of things as Lance Zierlein will join us next, host of John and Lance on 97.5 in Houston. We'll continue the Jaguars conversation right here on Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
Meet David talking about his experience with BioTarget regenerative therapy at injury care centers.
After my first treatment of BioTarget, I noticed the results right away when I left the office. I was having pain in my knee and I was unable to run. After the treatment, I was able to start running again. I was taking like ibuprofen. It really wasn't working. Really didn't want to consider surgery at all, so that's why I seeked out the BioTargeting. You can have here at the Injury Care Center, they're going to give you 100% money-back guarantee for a treatment. I don't know if it gets any better than that. I was amazed about the results. I would definitely recommend this to my friends and family members.
Stop masking your pain with harmful medications. There's a better solution. BioTarget regenerative therapy has helped countless others, and it can help you too. Call 904-92-REGEN or visit gobiotarget.com today.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Are you looking for a remix on the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich? The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is a flavorful spin on a familiar favorite, created with a Chick-fil-A filet, a drizzle of honey pickled jalapenos, and a spread of savory pimento cheese. The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich combines your favorite flavors with a twist. And this year it's back with a bite with a spicy filet option. Available for a limited time only, so stop by and enjoy one today at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes.
I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Picture this. You know those little number counter thingies, the one with the rolling numbers that just keep going up and up and up and up? That's what the selection is like at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Mia here, not 100, not 200, not even 300, 400, or 500, folks. Over 600 vehicles in one location. Let's break it down. Over 275 SUVs, over 200 cars, over 100 pickups, over 50 luxury vehicles. That, my friends, is over 600 cars on the lot at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Arlington Pre-Owned even has 125 vehicles under $18K. And if you're looking for buying confidence, check this out. At Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned, you get 60 days to love it or exchange it. Need a little credit help? Arlington has your back with their Credit for Everyone program to help you get financed. Why Arlington? The better question is, why not? Don't wait. Shop Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned today. In person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality product and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
It's Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
15,000 workers. I'm Brian Rose from Remedy Staffing. We survey 15,000 blue-collar workers each year to better understand what drives quality and dependability in our workforce. The survey shows when looking for a new job, the initial pay rate, job security, and safety while working are the most important factors for hourly workers. If you're an employer and would like to learn more about the voice of the blue-collar worker, please call us at 904-528-1933.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On September 25th, 1932, MLB Hall of Fame first baseman Jimmy Fox hits his 58th home run in the last game of the season against the Senators.
Fall in Florida. The leaves may not be coming down,
but the prices are at Beard's Diamonds.
It's the buy one, get one on wedding band sale.
All stackables, all right-hand rings, all eternity bands, and more are buy one, get one free.
At the St. John's Town Center or beardsdiamonds.com.
Thermal Engineers is hiring. Thermal Engineers is a commercial HVAC contractor serving North Florida for over 20 years. Qualified technicians and installers. How does top pay, 401k, and full benefits sound, and a signing bonus? Is it time for a positive change in your career? Join the family-oriented commercial HVAC contractor at Thermal Engineers. Call 230-1172 or go to Thermal Engineers, Inc., an equal opportunity employer.
This is Dr. Turner Vossler, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
The Jaguars are one of 3 NFL teams that have yet to win a game this season. The Jags joined the Cincinnati Bengals and the division rival Tennessee Titans at 0-3. Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson was asked this morning if the team is feeling the pressure of 0-3.
I mean, obviously our sense of urgency is heightened, obviously, at 0-3. I mean, that's not where we want it to be, and now we're facing a really good Houston football team on the road. It doesn't get any easier, so I don't think I have to say much, obviously about these types of weeks. It's a matter of, continuing to trust our process and the standard we've set here and continue to work through it.
I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Taylor Dalmio, Brian, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you, and a good friend of RJ's joins us now, Lance Zierlein, host of John and Lance on 97.5 in Houston. Lance, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Sure, good to be here.
So it was a year ago yesterday that CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans won their first game with the Texans, and I feel like kind of announced themselves as being a potentially good team as the Texans throttled the Jaguars here in Jacksonville. What are your memories from that day?
Well, they had come off of a game where we didn't know what to expect from C.J. Stroud. They had played the Ravens, which was a tough first game out, and it was C.J. Stroud was not the C.J. Stroud that people think of him now. So it was really quite a surprise, to be honest with you. I know Houston's had their issues with Jacksonville over the years. It's been a lot of give and take over the years, frankly, but I just thought, okay, this is going to be tough for them to win this one going in. And you got Steelers coming up. That'll probably be a loss. And so that was quite a surprise that the Texans played as well as they did offensively in Jacksonville last year. And it really kick-started what became a very surprising season and then a growing narrative surrounding the Houston team in terms of being a team to watch in the AFC. It's kind of grown over time.
Lance, let's take a look at last week. The Texans coming off a loss to the Vikings. The Vikings defense is kind of the talk of the town right now. But tell us a little bit about Houston's offense last week. It seems like maybe some of those, the deep threat passes that were happening last year aren't happening as much, those explosive plays. But tell us a little bit about some of the woes you saw last week and maybe some of the positives coming out of Houston's offense early this year.
Yeah, I think the league-wide trend is to play 2 deep safeties now, more shell coverages, which is specifically geared to taking away explosive plays and forcing a lot of these young quarterbacks to prove that they can sustain drives. And, Minnesota did a lot of that as well, but they also really challenged Houston's front from a pass rush standpoint. I think the Texans, C.J. Stroud, Bob Slowick, the play caller, they're going to have to figure out how to move the ball consistently on the ground. They did that in the first game against the Colts, but they haven't had, but then the next game you had you didn't have Joe Mixon, and then game 3 you didn't have Joe Mixon. And so the Texans right now have been without their ground game that they saw in game 1, which made it a lot easier to move the ball. Last year they didn't have much of a ground game. They still were able to be explosive offensively. But as I mentioned, league-wide, there's a trend now to take away explosive plays. And the only way you counter that is to take what they give you, which is a lot of intermediate throws, the short catch and run type throws. So I think what you're going to see is the Texans really get back to utilizing Tank Dell this week against the Jaguars. I think you'll still see the catches and targets for Stephon Diggs as well. But really, Houston has to figure out how to really maximize the short and intermediate passing game, because I think a lot of the play action deep balls that they were getting before, they're not going to see because so many teams are playing zone against them now.
You can find him on X at Lance Zierlein. That's Zierlein. He is, of course, not only a radio host in Houston, but also a part of NFL media at NFL.com, joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Lance, let's stay on the offensive side of the ball for the Texans. That offensive line, we mentioned this in the opening segment of our program today. It's an offensive line that was certainly banged up last year, the most of any outfit in the National Football League, and yet it found success. 12 penalties last week, 11, I believe, the week prior. Can you put a finger exactly? Not only those penalties are obviously on the whole team, not just the offensive line, but the majority of them came at the line of scrimmage. Can you put a finger on some of the struggles for this offensive line early on in this season?
Well, yeah. I mean, Houston last week got clipped by the same thing that we saw in the first game of the year, which with Ronnie Stanley and the Ravens, which was the emphasis on lining up the tackles where the center's waist is. You've got to have your helmet there. So really, the Texans got clipped with that 3 different times. You had Laramie Tunsil lining up actually twice it was Laramie Tunsil. The other time, I think it may have been the right tackle, where they were not lined up properly. So the league has made a point of emphasis. They called 3 penalties there, and then you had multiple false starts. Laramie Tunsil is the worst, the left tackle for the Texans. He is the worst at jumping quickly to try to get the jump on pass rushers. It just doesn't seem to care about correcting it. So this has been an issue now for going on 4 years. So he got 2 or 3 more in that regard. He had 6 penalties all told, only 5 that were accepted. And you had false starts along the interior too. So the Texans, number one, had a problem with consistently blocking the rush for Minnesota. But then the other problem was they just kept tacking on 5-yard penalties left and right with pre-snap penalties and misaligned tackles. And so, when you're already in a tough situation against a defense coordinator that seems to have the number of that type of offense, he did it the week before against San Francisco. Brian Flores did it against the Texans. It's the same coaching tree. The offensive play calling comes off the same Shanahan tree. You can't afford to continue to have 5-yard penalties. You can't afford to have penalties that move you back where you're constantly playing behind the sticks. And that's what happened. But it was a butt kicking. I mean, it wasn't like, the penalties. The Minnesota Vikings humbled the Texans on both sides of the ball, the coaching staff, and it may have been the best thing for the Texans because the hype train was getting a little out of control, and this is a reminder that, hey, you're not there yet.
Yeah, both teams coming off of butt kickings, that's for sure, Lance. What's the latest with Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce, the backs for the Texans?
Mixon's got a shot to play. Dameon Pierce, we're going to wait and see. We should know more by tomorrow if they participate. I think my guess is you'll see Mixon back along with Cam Akers, and I'm not sure you'll see Cam as his backup. I'm not sure you'll see Dameon Pierce this week, but we'll find out. I mean, Pierce is a hammerhead runner. He's not as dynamic, but the Texans will take anything they can get because they have to get the run going. Although, after the way Jacksonville played the pass last week, I'm sure they're not going to shy away from throwing the ball.
Yeah, I was about to say we have a long list of things that we got to work on here, Lance, and passing game being one of those. But I did want to talk about some of the younger pieces. For example, Kamari Lassiter, who's been playing really well from what I've seen so far this season. Tell us a little bit about him and what the secondaries looked like so far this year.
Yeah, the secondary is exploitable. Kamari has played pretty well up to this point. Rookie who's very hard-nosed, very aggressive. He's a D'Amico Ryans type of player where he's just all about football. He'll come up and hit you and run support. He's a sticky cover man, but if you've got some speed matched against him, you can get some deep separation. So he's somebody who's much better over the first and second level than once the play, heads deep. Still waiting for Stingley. Stingley is not off to the same start he was the year before, but the Texans also, I think, are better suited for him when he's getting to play man-to-man. So, Derek Stingley's still, a top cover corner. That's not a problem. Where you get into the issue for the Texans, I think, is Jalen Petrie is their nickel. He's really more of a safety, but he's playing the nickel, so your slot receivers, the ones with speed, will have an advantage over number 5, Jalen Petrie. And then from a safety standpoint, I think they're very average. Jimmy Ward has his limitations in coverage, and Eric Murray is solid but, upgradable. So I think, there are on paper, Jacksonville should be able to attack the secondary. But, once again, we really haven't seen that consistently. But on paper, there is the potential to not only throw the ball in certain matchups, but also, I think, run the ball between the tackles a little bit.
Lance Zierlein is our guest on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Lance, who do you believe is X factor, priority number 1, when you look at the scouting report, big picture for the Houston Texans? Who are they most concerned about on the Jacksonville Jaguars roster?
Well, I think probably Etienne and Josh Allen. I mean, you've got one guy that can rush off the edge and you can move him around to either side. So keeping the quarterback safe, because when you have a guy who can get off the edge and rush, it leads to false starts for the Texans. So it's kind of a dual concern there. But then on top of that, you also have the concern of Etienne getting going. And he's somebody that can beat you out of the backfield. He's somebody that can get the running game going. And, once you get the running game going, you start to eat up time of possession, keep the Texans' offense off the field. And so I think that's always a concern, is having a team that runs the ball well against you, especially with a dynamic running back like Etienne, who can beat you in a couple different ways. So, and, it wouldn't shock me to see after last week, Jacksonville start leaning more heavily on that facet of the offense.
All right, Lance, so we really appreciate your time today, and hope you have a good time watching this game in Houston.
We'll see how it goes. Both teams need to bounce back, that's for sure.
Yeah, one needs a win. That's the bottom line.
That's the difference.
Thank you, Lance.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, there he goes, Lance Zierlein, host of John and Lance on 97.5 and 92.5 in Houston, by the way, both of us having the 92.5. Look, at the end of the day, the Texans, while, yes, they suffered an embarrassing loss on Sunday, I think they know they're a good football team. The Jaguars, I think they're reeling. I don't think they have any confidence in themselves right now.
The comment, though, that Lance made about Laramie Tunsil is very, very interesting to me, because that's supposed to be the leader. I understand C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson are the faces of the franchise, but that's your veteran leader who you've invested money in with multiple contracts. And the fact that he just, whatever, he's not really focused about fixing jumping off or false starts and lining up out of position. It just doesn't concern him. For me, yes, he's a veteran player. He's an all-pro. Who cares? But isn't that kind of an indictment of the mentality then of the operation?
It is an interesting comment, because I think that he's really good at a lot of things, but it is interesting that his biggest weakness is just not being able to not jump.
Not being disciplined.
But the thing we talk about a lot, too, with pre-snap penalties is coaching. We usually relate that to coaching, but it seems like this is a career thing, which obviously they've had multiple coaches. So then to me, that points to player. And like you said, maybe it's a lack of just like, okay, I'm good at everything else. This is the one thing that I can't just get a hold on.
But if he's a captain, if he's your leader, and he's not holding himself accountable, and he's not being held accountable. Like, look, he's an all-pro. Like, I'm not going to
that's what I'm saying. He's really good at a lot of things.
Right, but it's interesting that's just, whatever. That's just what he does. And now here we are. You have 12 and 11 penalties the last 2 games out.
I kind of feel like it's Jawan Taylor-ish, although I don't think Jawan is asked to be the leader of the Chiefs by any means. But it's just, look, most of the time I get away with it. And sometimes they're going to call me for it, but other times I get that jump and I'm better prepared than the edge rusher is. And so I'm going to do it as long as I can at least get away with it more often than not. All right, so I just referenced, I think the Jaguars are reeling. Well, Doug Peterson met with media earlier today, and the final question of the presser was asked if this Jaguars team has a fragile psyche right now.
I don't think we're there. You know, I still see glimpses of good football, you know, out there from time to time, and we've got to lean on those moments, and we got to learn from those. But it just takes one play. We're real close to creating some takeaways, you know, defensively. We've done better protecting the football in the last couple of weeks, but it just takes that one play. Maybe that'll spark your team. So I don't think the psyche's bad or in that frame of mind yet.
The only player that I can recall that's been close to getting takeaways is Foye Oluokun, who was
twice,
yeah. Right, twice, and he's probably not going to play on Sunday. So I guess I don't feel like this defense is that close to getting takeaways.
Ronald Darby came close against the Browns along the sideline. That was kind of a freak play with Amari Cooper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. I mean, I think that I hated that presser yesterday. Yesterday's presser this morning I haven't got to listen to yet. I know we'll hear a little bit throughout the show, but it just seems like we didn't have an answer on the show yesterday. It sounds like they don't either. And that's scary for your coaches to not have some sort of like, okay, well, if we do this and this, it's a fix. You're more so like, well, hopefully we can get a couple plays and that can change things.
Yeah. So we also yesterday talked about what changes this team could make. And Doug was asked the same question, but he did say it's tough on a short week.
A lot of times, too, when you get in the red zone, it's execution. Your execution and doing your job. And right now we haven't been doing that well enough. We've settled for way too many field goals in the first couple of games, and we've got to find a way to flip that and score touchdowns. But, you know, and then, of course, we've had some turnovers. But it's more internally, I think, when you're looking at yourself and you know, what we can do better as coaches to help our players, you know, in those red zone situations.
That was Doug on red zone struggles. I went out of order, RJ, so it's not your fault. But yeah, I just wanted to hear him talk about both things, red zone, and then also it is tough to make changes on a short week. Okay, no good. Look, at the end of the day, I don't know that they can necessarily come up with, okay, if we just replace this player with this player and this player with this player, okay, now it's magically going to be better.
No, I said it yesterday. Burn the boats. Like, you got who you got. Yeah. And now at this juncture, again, it's just a matter of what are you running offensively? Because this is who you have. And so I don't envision stuff really changing. Thank you to 601 on the text line, Design by Lifetime Enclosures, who answered a little bit of our question of what does simplification mean in the most basic terms. And so I'll read 601 because I think that, like I said, this is really all you can do at this juncture because you got who you got. Simplifying the offense means taking away their biggest liability, which is the offensive line. That means getting the ball out of Trevor's hands as quickly to avoid possible sacks. They need to start going with bubble screens to Kirk and Thomas, play action pass screens to ETN so they can get him out in space, run the ball, RPOs, quick hitting slants. That's really their only option to address a leaky line. Those plays should be in their playbook that they can go to. That's what's interesting. And the phrase that Gus Logue used last week on all of our various Duval Rundown platforms is this idea of they were married to the short game, and they don't want to be married to the short game anymore, or at least that's kind of the sentiment, because that was such a notion of, well, look at all these bubble screens and these swing passes and passes behind the line of scrimmage last year, and that was the downfall of their offense.
One thing that also popped out to me with what Lance Zierlein just said, but it's been a conversation, obviously, all around the league because of Mel Kiper's comments with the too high safety and how that's taking away explosive plays and how that is what kind of has hurt CJ recently. I'm honestly, I would like to go in and look at how much that is hurting Trevor too, because we've had the moments, I said the stat last week of the, like 70% of his yards have been from just big explosive plays down the field. If you take those away from Trevor, how much can he succeed in those intermediate, short, and middle of the field, which we've said not very well, at least in the small sample size we have. So they've got to figure out, and it goes to the testament to that too. That's the simplification. So if simplifying your playbook is doing something that your quarterback isn't very good at, though, there's a problem.
Trevor Lawrence, too, when he is good in the middle of the field, is because he has Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the guy that
and Christian Kirk, which we finally saw at least a little bit of that on Monday.
Yeah, which we've been yelling all offseason. Finally, Christian Kirk can do what Christian Kirk can do, and we saw a little baby piece of it, but not nearly as much as we thought we would.
Yeah, you got that right. All right, when we return, we will get it to college football. Mia has her My Bookie picks as well. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Get entertaining insight on Sunday's games all day Monday.
They came together as a team.
Sink your teeth into Dandy Foods Postgame Monday.
It is a game.
Makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, let's talk about diamond cutting. How is a diamond price affected by the way it is cut?
Frank, that's probably the most important question asked about diamonds, because the trade-off between a diamond cut for maximum beauty and one that's not is the diamond's carat weight. You see, diamond cutters buy rough diamonds based on quality and weight. So as they cut the rough diamond, everything cut away affects profits. However, there's specific known cutting parameters, and each deviation from these means they have a heavier, less beautiful diamond. Unfortunately, a customer can't detect all those cutting imperfections. They need expert help about a diamond's cut grade. You see, for any round diamond of a particular color, clarity, and carat weight, there are as many as 10 different prices that can vary by as much as 50%. At Underwoods, we look specifically at how a diamond's cut before we look at anything else, because it's the most important factor when it comes to a diamond's beauty, and to us, whether it should carry the Underwood name or not.
Mia here, and our listeners continue to bet and win big with MyBookie by using promo code 1010XL. Folks, a huge week of college and NFL games ahead beginning Thursday night. Get signed up now for Virginia Tech traveling to Miami. The Canes, now 19.5-point favorites with a total of 55.5 at MyBookie. With the way Miami's been scoring, covering that spread looks like no problem, right? Right? Nah, we'll circle back to that in Mia's MyBookie midweek picks. How about a Thursday night football matchup between the Cowboys and the Giants? The G-Men, 4.5-point home underdogs. If you think they can keep it close, they did beat the Browns last week. Sign up now and get in on the action. For a limited time, MyBookie is bringing back the double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to double your money on that very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to double your money. Bet on anything, anytime, anywhere, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie.
Hey gang, Prosser here, telling you once again about Chad and Sandy Newman. Mortgage rates are down, creating more active buyers and sellers. If you've been waiting, now is a great time to sell your home before more homes flood the market, driving down prices. So maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. They can handle that. You see, Chad and Sandy can take every problem you think you have and replace it with a promise. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. The success stories are rolling in. Mike and Lisa in McCormick. We inherited a family home that came with equity, but also a mortgage. We needed to sell fast to avoid extra expenses on a second mortgage. We heard about Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. Everything they say on the radio is true. The home sold in 3 days for full asking price. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200, or go to chadandsandy.com. That's ChadAndSandy.com.
Mia O'Brien here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. If water flows through it, the team at Duck Duck can install it or repair it. From septic tank pump outs, drain field installations, clog drains, water heaters to repipes, they do it all. And they do it well. You're definitely going to want to keep their number and information handy with Hurricane Helene barreling towards the first coast. And don't just take my word for it. Check out the reviews on Google to see what customers just like you are saying about Duck Duck Rooter. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit duckduckrooter.com to schedule service today.
Cyber threats don't take time outs. Protect your business with DoubleCheck Cybersecurity's AI-powered solutions. Get 24/7 defense and stop hackers before they score. Don't wait. Visit doublecheck.com to schedule your free security consultation today.
Now, it's time to showcase the Crown Royal Special Teams Player of the Game. Live generously and life will treat you royally.
Cam Little came up big for the Teal and Black under the bright lights Monday against the Bills. The rookie kicker was 1 for 1 on his field goal attempts for Jacksonville, and he also went perfect on his extra point tries. Cam Little was simply royal in every facet of his game and is your Crown Royal Special Teams Player of the Game.
Hey, it's Mike Dempsey, and you know how I feel about Pella Windows and Doors. Great design, strongest warranties, and the highest quality product. I even chose Pella Windows for my own home. And whether you're a homeowner replacing windows or building a new home or a trade professional working with clients, I know the design experts at Pella will help your project run smoothly and look great. Visit PellaJacks.com or the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Hey, it's Tony from Tony D's Pizza. If you love our pizza and pasta dishes, let us cater an event for you. Family function or office parties, we can deliver you an amazing Italian meal. Remember, it's not just pizza at Tony D's. Bay Meadows in $2.95.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. Brought to you by USA Park. With a win now under their belt, the FSU Seminoles prepare to go on the road after 3 consecutive home games and travel to Texas, where they'll take on SMU. Noles head coach Mike Norvell met with the media after yesterday's practice and spoke on the challenges they'll face against SMU's offense.
They're very well coached. You know, Rhett's done a great job throughout his career. Very multiple, in what they do in the run game, play actions, try to keep you off balance. They do push tempo. They've got, a variety of playmakers, that they can use. I mean, the quarterback, he is, he throws the ball well. He can move, he can extend. So, it's definitely a challenging task for our guys. But no, it's one they're excited to go attack.
FSU and SMU kick off Saturday at 8. It's 87 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. All right. We finally, I feel like, have our second good college football game of the entire college football slate at this point in time.
I was just going to say, at long last, we can finally talk college football this week. I feel like we've ignored the fact that the Florida Gators are technically a 500 outfit right now. The Florida State Seminoles got their first win over the weekend, and we have a great slate ahead of us because we've been so fixated on the National Football League in this town.
Yeah. Of course we have, unfortunately. We've had to talk about losing more than certainly winning. But yeah, let's talk college football. Let's kick things off with Mia's My Bookie Picks.
Now, Mia's Midday My Bookie Picks. Experience the Vegas thrill from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere, only with My Bookie.
Alrighty, so we've got picks from across not only college football, the NFL, as well as the WNBA. Let's get some bump music popping here, RJ. I'll begin with tonight's Game 2 of the opening round of the Eastern Conference playoffs in the WNBA. The Indiana Fever, 6.5-point underdogs on the road at Connecticut. A little bit of intel for you. Both these teams against the spread hover around 500. The Fever 18-17 against the spread. The Sun 18-18. The total is where you may want to get in on the action with the Fever 22-13 when it comes to over-unders. I feel like this is where you see one last stand from Caitlin Clark and company. We have yet to see the underdog prevail in either of the two series that have already wrapped up in the WNBA playoffs. I want to believe that the Fever will outlast the Sun in a 3-game set. What I do know is they're going to force a Game 3 tonight. So give me the Fever plus 6.5, and even if that doesn't happen, they'll keep it close. To Thursday Night Football, the Cowboys a 5.5-point favorite over the New York Giants. This one is simply a regression to the mean, folks. I think this is a matter of, let's be real, Mike McCarthy, the second largest odds next besides Doug Peterson to be the first coach fired in the NFL this season after 2 back-to-back games in which, yes, they came back against the Ravens, but the score in the third quarter, not indicative of the final score. I think the Cowboys bounce back in a big way, plus the Giants with a surprising win on the road in Cleveland last week. To college football we go. Temple and Army get us started this weekend. I'm going to actually play the under in this one, under 46. Temple comes into this one fresh off its first win of the season after falling to 0-3 pretty quickly with losses to Oklahoma, Navy, and Coastal Carolina. They do get the best of Bryson Barnes and Utah State last Saturday in a shootout, 45-29. Army enters this game 3-0. But have they really played anyone up to this point? The Black Knights, 42-7 winners over Lehigh, 24-7 winners over FAU, 37-14 winners over Rice. I think this is where Army actually gets put to the test. So give me the under in that game. And finally, you heard me mention it in the live read, Miami and Va-Tech. The line has shifted once again. The Miami Hurricanes, 19.5-point favorites in a conference game. The total is 55. Look, I'm here for the Cam Ward hype train, ladies. 19.5 is a massive number to cover. And it's not like Virginia Tech. Yes, I understand they lost to Vanderbilt in the opener. It's not like they're this lifeless, winless team. I mean, for crying out loud, Brett McMurphy and Matt Hayes had them in the playoff in their preseason predictions. And so, look, I don't think Virginia Tech's going to win this game, but 19.5, that's just a little too rich for my blood. Be sure to sign up. Again, that double deposit bonus is live when you use promo code 1010XL. Head on over to mybookie.ag to get signed up and go make some money.
If you looked at any of the college football best games to watch lists in the offseason, then you would have found Georgia at Alabama pretty much number one across the board. Another good one that, when I referenced earlier, our second good game as far as two high-ranked teams matching up against one another was when we saw Texas at Michigan. The problem is that game didn't really live up to its billing because Texas throttled Michigan.
Yeah.
But Georgia, Alabama, number 2 in the country is, of course, Georgia. Number 4 in the country, Alabama. Kalen DeBoer coming into this matchup for the first time, obviously being in Tuscaloosa.
His first SEC matchup.
Yeah, first SEC matchup, and certainly first time facing in such an elite football program from the SEC with what Kirby Smart has been able to do. You've got Jalen Milroe, you've got Carson Beck, you've got those super talented Georgia defensive players, you've got the super talented Alabama offensive players. That's where I feel like it's strength on strength. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game, but I know I can't wait to watch it Saturday night.
So Georgia currently a 2-point favorite on the road. The total for that game, 48.5. You could also get Alabama plus 107 on the money line at MyBookie. For me, what I find so interesting is, yes, there was a bye week included in this for Georgia coming off of, I don't even want to, do you throw away the Kentucky game and you just say this is Mark Stoops facing Georgia, weird things happen? Because when you look at the SEC and you look at, statistically speaking, Georgia is in the bottom 5 when it comes to third down conversions. They're in the bottom 5 when it comes to third down defense. And I just, I don't want to say it's simply a byproduct of a 16-14 game and a game that you were going against a defense that has had your number at times over the better part of the last 10 years. And that's why your statistics look the way they do. And the Clemson game is much more indicative of who this Georgia team is. But certainly for me, Taylor, this is the most significant test that Georgia will face since they last faced Alabama.
Yeah, one of the things I talked about is this Georgia team is highly penalized this year. They have 9 penalties last week, 7 penalties the week before, and then that first week, even with a 34-3 loss, I think it was 9 penalties in that game too. And so when you're looking at something like that, 7. So 7, 7, and 9. And so it's just a team that are kind of uncharacteristically getting penalized. An offense that scores only 13 points is not something you usually see in Georgia either. Carson Beck only had 160 yards, and it kind of made me think of this, what Lance Zierlein just said, when it's like they're coming out of this game, more of a reality check. It was a reality check for the Texans, he said, but was it for Georgia too? Was that like we cannot have another offensive performance like that, especially now you're playing against an SEC team like Alabama? You can maybe get away with it and still win when Kentucky. You are not going to be able to have an offensive performance like that this week and be able to even come close to winning.
Yeah, that's the key is Alabama's super explosive on offense. We saw that certainly in the victory against Wisconsin and then South Florida towards the back half of that game. Georgia destroyed Clemson to start the season, but how explosive has Georgia been since then? And that's where the questions are, other than beating one easy opponent in Tennessee Tech. But that's where the questions are. Can Georgia's offense be as explosive as need be? Can Trevor Etienne and Dominic Lovett, can those guys give Georgia enough? Can they, in other words, keep up with what we assume is going to be a high-flying offense for Alabama? And to me, the difference between the two to this point is Jalen Milroe is very mobile and will use his legs as a serious weapon. Carson Beck, he can do it, but that's not how Georgia's offense has been designed.
I think when we talk about the Jaguars' design of the offense being their own worst enemy, I think there's some Georgia fans out there that would echo that sentiment on the offensive side of the ball. Are you actually creating an offense that exemplifies Carson Beck's strengths versus, well, this is what we do.
Oh,
we're going to stick the circle peg in the square hole. Not that we're keeping tabs on this because, look, it's the fourth game of the season for both these outfits, but the Heisman Trophy winner odds now at MyBookie. Worth taking a little peek at, given that 2 of the top 6 will be playing in that Georgia-Alabama game. Cam Ward is the front runner, plus 340 right now at MyBookie. Jackson Dart, second at plus 420. And these are the odds for most sports books that I've seen so far.
Cam Ward, much easier schedule than so far Jackson Dart or the other 2 that'll be in this game.
Yes. Jalen, Ole Miss, who's Ole Miss really played so far?
I'm not saying who they have yet, but who they will
who they will play. I was going to say. I mean, no offense. I'd say both their schedules so far.
Future schedule.
I'd say they both have had the benefit of a pretty easy schedule up to this point.
Like Ohio State, yeah.
Not wrong. Jalen Milroe is the 3rd best odds at MyBookie right now to win the Heisman at plus 610. Nico Iamaleava plus 790. That's the 4th best odds. No question about that with how Tennessee is playing. Dylan Gabriel still hanging around at plus 900. And then Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers at plus 1225.
I bet Quinn Ewers was higher than that before the injury, the strained abdomen. I would guess that bumped him down just a little bit because certainly he was playing really good football before that injury. To me, Carson Beck is never going to get the love because everyone's always going to talk about that vaunted Georgia defense, even though they lose players in the NFL draft year in and year out. So there's always going to be that, well, yeah, but Carson Beck has this defense that's always going to give them the ball back, right? That's where a Jalen Milroe, people focus more on now what Kalen DeBoer and his offense can do.
Right. And again, not saying that with a 3-game sample size, we know everything we need to know about what Kalen DeBoer is going to do for Jalen Milroe. But just a quick perusing, and again, the level of competition has not nearly reached the level that it will throughout the course of the SEC schedule. Last year, Jalen Milroe had a 65.8 completion percentage. That's up to 67.3%. The percentage of throws that went for touchdowns last year, 8.1. Percentage this year, 15.4. His yards per attempt up from 10 yards per attempt to 11.3. And again, 3 games in, played 13 games last year. Shout out to USF and Taylor's Bulls, in which Jalen Milroe did not play in that game. Last year, he had 23 touchdowns in 13 games. He has 8 touchdowns in 3 games so far this season, which would suggest...
Is that total or just passing?
That's passing.
Okay.
So
because he's been rushing.
Correct.
Several rushing
We could go through that as well.
Yeah.
But that suggests he is well on his way to eclipsing, at least with the pace, and given the SEC schedule, but he's on pace for 26 touchdowns, which is obviously more. You would expect it. Look, he's a player that started for the first time last year. It was an up and down season for him, for Alabama, until they hit their stride late in the year. But this question of, can Kalen DeBoer do for Jalen Milroe what he did for Michael Penix Jr.? I think if Alabama pulls the upset, I think that is going to be a talking point across the country on every sports radio program.
I've mentioned him a couple of times, but Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old that plays for Alabama, the wide receiver, when you talk about the average yards per attempt going up, there's a reason for that. This kid is electric fast. It's the way we talk about Brian Thomas Jr. here, if the offense could, actually execute around him. But that Ryan Williams is so incredibly fast. And so can Georgia, with its secondary that certainly lost some guys, we talked about Kamari Lassiter for the Texans, lost some guys in the draft, can they design a game plan? I expect so. Whenever we talk about these types of games, we think that it's going to be 21-all at halftime, right? After the first two quarters. And it's going to be 3-3.
That's what ends up happening.
Quarters, well, especially, where's the offense?
Especially the way Georgia's been playing. The first game, obviously, Clemson, they didn't start scoring until the third quarter. Last week, they barely scored the whole entire game. Yeah. So that's kind of Georgia's MO is the third quarter. They're like, oh, yeah, football, play. So it depends. We'll see how much they're down at that point. But it is, when it comes to Jalen Milroe and what they've been able to do with him, it is being able to have a quarterback who has that versatility. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing touchdowns against Wisconsin. You can't plan one thing. At that point you have spies on him because he can take off and score in those situations. And so that makes it even more dangerous for an offense. And like you said, to Carson Beck, we've seen him be able to do that. They just don't. So there isn't any fear in the defense of having to worry about Carson taking off.
By the way, Alabama defensively has a player named Devonta Smith.
Oh,
isn't that fun?
It's familiar.
Yeah, and whatever Husky is so when you look at their depth chart, he's listed as the Husky. I don't know what that is in the Bama defense. We'll find out Saturday night. All right, when we return, Taylor Dahl has a tangent, and we have our Chick-fil-A giveaway. Keep it right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
This is Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. In every game, there's a guy who just makes plays.
He's their best home run hitter and elusive generational type back.
Listen for the Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game. Experience the universal difference on 1010XL.
Hey, Jacksonville, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Chick-fil-A is introducing their new banana pudding milkshake that's here to enjoy for a limited time only. The seasonal treat features Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert mixed with bananas and vanilla wafer cookie crumbles. It's a perfect sweet spin on a classic shake. The banana pudding milkshake is here for a limited time, so stop by your local Chick-fil-A restaurant and treat yourself today.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Prosser here. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLS consumeraccess.org.
At Honda, we appreciate all the comparisons to other vehicles. And no matter how many times they compare their vehicles to a Honda, only a Honda is a Honda. Remember, value, quality, safety, there is no substitute. Visit your local Honda dealer now and experience the difference.
Guys, feeling deflated in the bedroom? ED, low T, no energy? If your stuff is broken, call 904-STROKEN or 904stroken.com. No shots in the first treatment, now free. Fix your ED at 904stroken.com.
Helmets and Heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Is an injury keeping you on the sidelines? Whether it's your shoulder, neck, back, knee, wrist, or ankle, don't let pain hold you back any longer. At Injury Care Centers, they offer the same high-tech treatments trusted by the pros to supercharge your recovery without surgery. The road to recovery starts the moment you pick up the phone. 904-783-0008. That's 904-783-0008. Injury care starts at Injury Care Centers.
Hey, football fans, looking for the ultimate game day experience? Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. We're talking big plays on the big screens, food specials that'll make you your taste buds cheer and drink deals that'll keep your spirits high. And get this, we're open till 4 a.m., serving food and drinks until 2. Make the smart play. Head to Best Bet St. Augustine and ante up for your team. Find us at bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com. Best Bet St. Augustine, where every game day is a win.
Chelsea here, ready to upgrade your home and save big? Now's the perfect time with Renewal by Anderson. For a limited time, it's buy one, get one 40% off on all windows and doors. That's right, buy one, get one 40% off plus flexible financing options to fit your budget. Our custom-built energy-efficient windows and doors are made with Vibrex, 2 times stronger than vinyl, giving you the durability you need and the savings you want. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to book your free consultation today. Don't wait, this offer won't last. Restrictions apply. License number CGC 1527613. Proud partner of the Florida Gators.
Good teachers and coaches get the most out of their scholar athletes. That's why 1010XL salutes the Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
And the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234.
Wednesdays on The Frangie Show.
Expert Automotive on St. John's Bluff Road has some of the highest Google reviews in Jax for a reason. Expert Auto never sells greed, only what you need. All makes and models are serviced at Expert Automotive. This month, get an alignment inspection for only $19.99. Expert Auto does major engine and transmission repair and simple maintenance. All services done at Expert Auto by our ASC certified training technicians. Call today, 374-3373, and ask about $50 off any service. Expert Automotive. We never sell greed, only what you need.
This is Walker Little of your Jacksonville Jaguars for Kingfish Pest Control. I've been a Kingfish customer for a while now and can confirm that their service is incredible. Not only do they protect my family from pests, Kingfish's office staff is the friendliest around. They even email me a photo of the tech before arriving at my home. Kingfish Pest Control is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Be sure to enter their Swat That Kick sweepstakes for free pest control for 3 years. Go to kingfishpest.com and tell them Walker Little sent you.
If you're looking for the best in indoor air quality, I've got the experts to call. Florida Home AC, the official AC provider of the Jaguars, specializing in the best air quality for your home or work with the Remy Halo. Instead of waiting for pollutants to travel through the ductwork to be neutralized, the Halo cell releases friendly oxidizers every time your fan blows air, helping those in your home that suffer from allergies and other respiratory issues. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and start enjoying cool comfort and clean air.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com, and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's The Mangler. Go Team WM, and as always, Duval!
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Brian Taylor, Dollar J. Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. I referenced Devonta Smith. He's the Husky position for Alabama. What that means for the Roll Tide, he's a nickelback. Oh. So nickel corner, hybrid safety linebacker, that will be the position that he is playing. And as far as what Georgia players are saying about Ryan Williams, they're saying basically that he's a guy that can do everything, and he's super quick, talented, confident with the ball. Great ball skills, great quickness. He also, by the way, was a track athlete. That's also why he's so fast. So they are prepared for, how fast he's going to be. The question is, can they deal with it on the football field? Yeah. 10 catches, 285 yards, 4 touchdowns. And like Matt told us yesterday, he turns 18 in February.
So crazy. So crazy.
That is wild. All right, Taylor, take it away.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I'm actually going to stick with college football.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to talk about someone else's drama rather than ours.
Yeah.
Here in Jacksonville. So, UNLV quarterback. Have you guys heard about this one?
I'm so glad you're bringing it up, because I was going to say if we didn't get to it in this segment, we need to get to it before the day is over.
Yeah. So, for anybody listening and that maybe does not know, UNLV UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka had posted something on Twitter, and this is his quote: "I have decided to utilize my redshirt year and will not be playing in any additional games this season. I committed to UNLV based on a certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program." So many things to address in this. Number one, I think that when NIL came out, and the majority of people agreed that they understand that players should get paid. Most people were not disagreeing with that. We just were like, this is going to get messy. Whenever money gets involved with anything, there's automatically going to be extra issues that come along with it. Why weren't these contracts why weren't their contracts, honestly, placed of like, hey, you have to play X amount. You have to have, what if someone just absolutely sucks? Maybe have even some numbers in their criteria of what you have to hit throughout the season, whatever it may be. But it's just so interesting because UNLV is undefeated. They're on the very short list of the group of 5 possible contenders for the college football playoff.
Oh, and by the way, there also was news over the last 3 days of would they move to the new Pac-12.
Yes.
Like, this is not...
Yeah, that's just been a big conversation.
This now pales in comparison. In like 6 hours, Matthew Sluka has stolen the narrative, which, hey, listen, if you're at UNLV and you're looking at potential buyout, Pac-12, you're like, all right, let this guy take front and center for us if we want to negotiate a deal behind the scenes.
It's just crazy. So there's a lot of back and forth going on right now of what the actual situation is. It kind of reminds me of a Jaden Rashada because the two sides have very different opinions or thoughts or statements on what is going on. So Carl Reed for 24/7 Sports for CBS tweeted 4 hours ago, all financial commitments for UNLV QB Matthew Sluka were completely met. But after wins against KU and Houston, Sluka's family hired an agent, and they collectively feel that his market value has increased per source. So then another tweet that comes out about this situation from On3 Sports says that Matthew Sluka's NIL representation says he was offered a minimum of $100K to transfer to UNLV, and Pete Nakos confirms that he allegedly has only received $3,000 for relocation. So we don't even know what is going on at this point. There's two. That's right. One side saying that yes, everything that has been promised has been met, and then there's another side that's saying he was going to be offered $100,000 and only has $3,000. That's a massive gap. So where were this just to me is a thing where there's not enough in any contract that these guys are signing that is clear enough because each side has very different thoughts on what this was supposed to look like.
And he has the leverage in order to do this.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, every player, quarterback or defensive end, doesn't matter. They have the ability to, with the redshirt year, say, I'm not going to finish playing this season for this coach. And whether it's NIL, whether it's not getting enough playing time, they don't like the offensive system, no matter what it is, or defensive system, I'm going to withdraw. I'm going to transfer to another school. And that's where, when we had NIL come into the play, along with the transfer portal being completely wide open now, instead of you have to sit a year, both of those things arriving at the exact same time is how we got into this absolute, utter mess.
Right.
That is, there's no loyalty and no one can really trust one another.
So as our friend Andy Staples, of course, one of the lead guys at On3, and of course local to this area down in Gainesville, notes, at this juncture, we don't really know what's real, what's not. But what we do know, at least according to On3's reporting, that none of this was in writing, right? So Matthew Sluka was promised $100,000. Then they go out, they hire the agent afterwards.
And it's probably not in writing because you never know what's really legal and what's not in this world.
Correct.
It's like a guy in a van that's like, hey, we'll give you $100K.
Right. Well, so then, according to, the NACO's report, then they come back and they said, we'll give you $3,000 a month for the next 4 months, like in addition to this $100,000. Yeah. And again, to Derek in Indiana on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures point, if they promise you $100,000 and they're only giving you $3,000 so far, you would quit too. Now, again, that part has not been verified either.
Yeah.
So again, so much of this is so speculation right now.
And not everyone would quit, by the way, because you are winning, and that leads to a lot of times more money.
Right.
More
Your value may actually jump.
A draft, more people paying
Absolutely.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's also part of this. But what Andy did note, and this is a reality, he tweeted this out. The agent apparently missed the big federal lawsuit earlier this year and thought the player couldn't get offered a contract until after enrollment. And so that's where, why didn't you go in and actually get this thing in writing?
Yeah.
Like that's
your agent failed you.
Right. Or you didn't have an agent. Which
and you waited too late to get the agent.
Right, exactly.
Because no one knew who you were.
This is money involved, guys. You've got to have, contractual.
Literally, Donna Orender said to me a few weeks ago, she's like, I'm just telling you, good life practice. This is the former WNBA commissioner who lives, of course, here in Jacksonville, used to run the PGA Tour media. She said, she was like, you need to get everything in writing. Just in general, that is a life practice for all of you out there, regardless if you're an student athlete looking to make NIL money or not. You need to have it in writing. In some form or fashion, whether it's the agent, whether it's your parents, whether it's you and the coach, have it on paper. Have a paper trail.
My dad was a real estate attorney, so growing up, literally, if you wanted to go to a movie, get it in writing. You had to get it in writing. Everything was in writing because that's how the world is supposed to work, and that's where student athletes are at least learning how the real world does work, because not all of them are going to play professional sports, obviously. Matt Hayes, who will come on, of course, after us on XL Primetime, wrote a great story for USA Today Sports. And then this line is my favorite. You can't demand, talking about athletes in NIL, you can't demand to be treated like an adult and expect to be coddled like a child, after Hugh Freeze talked about his quarterbacks and said, we've got to find a guy who won't throw it to the other team. So he obviously frustrated with both Peyton Thorne and Hank Brown. But that's the other part of things is these student athletes want all the glory. They want all the money, but they don't want to face the music at the end
if it doesn't go well.
Correct. Yeah. Because that is also a possibility. And then, of course, they're just going to pack up their bags, transfer to another school. And that's not how life works.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you can change jobs, but you can only change jobs so many times before people realize that you're jumping ship constantly, and then they don't want to hire you.
And for those of you on the text line, because a couple of you are texting in and saying, if someone promised to pay you $100,000 and they only pay you $3,000, you would stop working too. Everyone would. We don't know.
Yeah.
Because then again, there's this other report out there that he is going to get the $100,000, and they said we'll give you $3,000 a month for now because the $100,000 is after you complete the season. So again, we don't know right now.
So his dad made a comment to Adam Rittenberg. His dad, Bob Sluka, father of UNLV QB Matthew Sluka, told ESPN that his son's agents agreed to an NIL deal with the school back in February, never received payments despite requests, but never asked for any adjustments to the original deal. And his quote literally said, "We have no idea what the hell happened."
This is going to end with UNLV finding the $100K, by the way. Like that's
finding,
where
not finding.
Yeah. No. Yes, finding. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Duh. For those of you who worry about my pronunciation of D's, finding the $100,000 magically in the next 48 hours. It's coming.
Probably more than that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's probably right now, because of this very ugly public display now, they're probably going to say, here's $300,000 or whatever the figure is, and we need you to get us to the group of 5, or we need you to get us to the college football playoff as a group of 5 representative, because that's going to bring us
more money, and then we're going to make up the difference.
$300,000.
Right.
And I think that
spend money to make money.
And I think that
no money, no problem.
When it comes to the comments of you know, like obviously if someone says they're going to pay you X amount of money and you never get that money, then you were going to say something, but most people wouldn't agree to something without signing, like I said, and that's why I keep saying the word contract. Like I wouldn't just tell somebody I'm going to work for them and then never have any sort of deal in place, like an official contractual deal. And that's the problem with a lot of these NIL deals, is it's just more of word of mouth of like, yes, we have this money. I promise you, we'll get it to you. If you transfer and you come over to our school and you play for us, we'll have all of the money and you're good and you're set. But there's nothing signed that says like, here's the official amount you're going to get by this time. Here's what you have to do to even get this money. There's all of those weird things. But I wonder in some of these situations how teammates feel, because I'm looking at it in that perspective, and I'm sure there's some that are behind him, like, yeah, go get your money, like, you want to get paid. But there's probably some that are like, man, we're undefeated, we're having a really good season, and you're just bailing on an entire team of people because you didn't get the money, and I'm putting this in quotations because we don't know yet, of the amount that you wanted. But it's more than that. It's football. This is some of us have like our dreams we've been having our entire lives. So I wonder how some of the locker rooms feel about certain situations when it comes to these.
Well, and that's where, again, according to the text line, Design by Lifetime Enclosures, especially from those of you who are in the 40 and younger, 50 and younger category, 30 and younger especially, this idea of you have to separate the love of the game, sports, the locker room. You have to separate that. And you need to understand that this is a business. And just like, Taylor, love you to death, but if you were told by 10-10 you were going to be paid $100,000 and you're only making $3,000, are you sticking around?
Well, that's what I said. No, but I wouldn't do it without some form saying you're giving me that money.
Correct.
And then in that point, I have a backup saying, no, I signed this contract. You wrote this contract.
And then
but
if you
doesn't
left,
have that.
Right. And then if you left, would I be upset?
Then I'd sue you because you wouldn't
Not
give me my...
No, I'm not the head of 10-10. I'm not the head of 10-10. Don't look at me like that. But the
Matthew Sluka, by the way, in the win over Kansas, so they won 23-20. He was 7 of 18 passing, 86 yards passing, 1 touchdown passing. But wait for it, 19 carries for 124 yards. He also had in that game. So he feels like this team is not winning without me. The next leading rusher had 20 yards. Yeah. So this is someone too who is like, I'm not only the face of this program, but I'm also doing everything. All right, we got to go to break. We will come back with our giveaway. You're listening to 1010XL 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
I'm Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. While we've earned the reputation as North Florida and South Georgia's preeminent official Rolex jeweler, it's important to point out that at Underwoods we carry other watches too. We start with Seiko, the most reliable, serviceable watch made for under $500. And they've started making jeweled, self-winding watches again, and sports watches you'd have to see to believe. Next we have Tavan, the Swiss-made ladies and men's and dress and sport watches, and they start at $575. Another name we carry is Tudor, inspired by Rolex with the same founder and owner, the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. And their sport watches and chronographs are the rage in Swiss timekeeping, with new in-house watch movements and exciting new model introductions every year. So if you're interested in watches, we have what you want at Underwoods. And all of our watches carry a 5-year warranty. At Underwoods, in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Mia O'Brien here. Boys and girls, it's hot outside. And that means your AC better be blowing nice and cold on the inside. If for any reason it's not, my friends at Duck Duck Air Conditioning are here to help. Their qualified service techs can handle any type of cooling issue at your home or business. So don't deal with the summer heat outside and inside. Give Duck Duck AC a call today to schedule service. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck AC is a licensed mechanical contractor.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and X to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
So many questions in Northeast Florida right now, and I'm going to guess one of those questions is, why Arlington? I'm so glad you asked, because our friends at Arlington Toyota have so many reasons why your next new Toyota is at Arlington. But first, let me ask you a question. Don't you just love having to drive from lot to lot to lot to try and find good selection? Nobody likes that. And thanks to Arlington, you don't have to. Arlington's lot is packed with new Toyotas in stock in one location, ready to go home with you today. If anything, you might have a hard time deciding with so many to choose from. That's okay, because Arlington has you covered too with their 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your new purchase or exchange it for one that you do. Worried about financing? There's the Arlington Credit Helper. You even get a complimentary car wash with every service. So instead of asking why Arlington, I'm going to ask, why aren't you here yet? Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Nick in here for Bout 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bout 9. Visit Bout 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bout 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we want it, we got to bring it.
My thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
Mia here. If you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running that double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL and you will have a massive winning week. Start with college and NFL games on Thursday night. Get signed up now for Virginia Tech traveling to face those Miami Hurricanes. The Canes are 17-point favorites with a total at 55.5 at MyBookie. With the way Miami's been scoring, covering that spread should be no problem. And how about a Thursday night football divisional matchup? The Cowboys travel to face the Giants in New York. The Giants are 4.5-point home underdogs coming off of a win. If you think they can keep this one a close one, be sure to take the home dogs. For a limited time, MyBookie again is bringing back that double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to double your money. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about putting your worries in the right bucket. So often we put our worries in our own bucket, but many times they need to be in God's bucket. The Bible says, present your problems always to God. In other words, leave them in God's bucket. Understand that no matter what is out of your control, it's never out of the control of Almighty God.
To hear more inspirational messages by Reverend Dr. Nicholas Lowe, please visit our website at stjohnthedivine.com.
This is Dr. Michael Iorio, internal medicine physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
The struggles for Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence continued on Monday night at Buffalo. Lawrence has yet to reach 250 yards passing in a game this season. Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson was asked this morning if Trevor Lawrence is trying to do too much.
There's times I think you get kind of locked in there. You want to make something happen so bad that you force an issue, and even as sideways as the game got Monday night, I think sometimes you just got to continue to, if it's not there, put it in play. If it's not there, put it in play, and try to work yourself back into a football game that way. And you're not going to get it all back in one play. And sometimes you can get caught up doing that.
I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
I'm still heated. Still hot after that last discussion topic with Taylor's Tangent. Man alive, look, we don't have all the details when it comes to the UNLV quarterback, the NIL deal that he was promised, he was not promised. But the toothpaste is out of the tube, folks.
Yeah.
There's no putting it back in. And honestly, I'm excited to see the hashtag content and where this comes from.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm going to go roll off of that too, because I don't want people to think that, number one, I don't want players to get paid. I do. I also am not mad that someone leaves when they don't get paid. I'm mad that this is so disorganized that nobody knows what's going on. And this is multiple issues now where we've had players who have these fake contracts that are just words, and we've had schools almost tricking guys into coming to a school without actually having any paper documentation that they're going to get a certain amount of money. And that bothers me the most. Like, stop. You shouldn't have thrown the portal and the NIL into the college football world if you didn't have all of these boundaries and rules and restrictions and contracts set in place yet. It was just very disorganized to implement it the way they did.
If I may read from the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, because I know you will chuckle at this one, from 514. A so-called prince in Africa promised me $1 million in an email before. NIL needs to be regulated and capped so every school would have equal opportunity to get players, not the highest bidder. Should become federal legislation.
I also think that the way NIL was intended was so that a student athlete doesn't get punished if they want to get their jerseys sold through the university bookstore, or someone wants to gets them to sign their jerseys.
Johnny Manziel.
Right. Name, image, and likeness was intended for that. It was not intended to be able to recruit someone from a high school to your school or to transfer from one school to another. But of course, that's what's happened. Yeah. And so staying on the college football front, I'll cool down with this stat. Alabama's last regular season game as an underdog against anyone but Georgia was against Tim Tebow and Florida in 2009.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
A very long time ago. The last time that Georgia lost a regular season game to anyone other than Florida or Alabama.
South Carolina?
South Carolina in 2019, that game was so much fun to watch because it was really back and forth. And the Florida win, it was in 2020, which was obviously a different season, but that was with Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, and the like. And so
the irony is that Will Muschamp was the head coach of South Carolina at that time, and now he is the defensive whatever he
coordinator,
is. Coordinator, but there's two of them, analyst, whatever you want to call it, at the University of Georgia.
Yeah, look, NIL has become something that's a very hot button topic too, because it feels like alum or fans that want to attend games are being asked to pay these players, but they're already paying season tickets and booster fees, and they're already buying merchandise.
Yeah.
It feels like it needs to come from the school itself to be able to fund the NIL. And I do think it would be so much easier if we had a college football commissioner that would say, every school you get to allot $1 million to your teams. And it's even. So Ohio State can't pay more than Tulane.
Right.
They all pay $1 million, and let's move right along.
You mean like a salary cap?
I do mean like a salary cap in contracts, because now it is free agency.
Which also means that there's going to have to be unions, and there's going to have to be movement of free labor and negotiations between the university, a.k.a. the employer, and the student athletes, a.k.a. the employees. And we know big bad universities don't want that.
No, they don't, because they've been able to make money from these student athletes for so long without ever having to pay them $1 other than room and board and scholarship. Look, I get that. That is valuable, by the way. That can save someone probably between $80,000 and $100,000 over the course of 4 or 5, 6 years, 7 years, 9 years in the case of the Miami tight end. So it is valuable, but I do think they should be able to get at least a percentage of what the university is making.
Yeah, and I also think a topic we talked about last week, I believe, is when it came to Tennessee and other schools talking about doing the talent fee for tickets
Tennessee.
now.
Yep.
And so that is going to be what if that was a situation that was happening at UNLV right now, where they had a talent fee so that they could pay Sluka, and then they don't pay. What do you do in that case when you're charging fans extra money for the talent, and then the talent doesn't end up playing, or the talent gets hurt, or the talent sucks?
Right.
Like, what happens then?
I would say it's the same as in the NBA when you pay a ticket to get in the door, and LeBron and Steph are load management not playing that day. Unfortunately, you're making it to the sum of all the parts, and then essentially it's like investing, right? You're investing in this entity by giving your hard-earned dollars, whether that be for tickets or merchandise or whatever that is, concessions, and in turn, you're supporting the name on the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey.
It's tricky because I do think the players deserve more than just scholarships from room and board and things like that. But what's the dollar amount, right? So Jalen Milroe and Carson Beck certainly earn more than the backup left tackle. But what if the left tackle goes out, the backup tackle has to come in, and then, if now you're saying, well, you didn't deserve that money, but I need you to protect me because I'm getting a lot of money. That's where it's a very tricky. world that college football coaches have to rely on and live in, really, to this point in time.
Did you guys know that Ben Johnson makes more money than Dan Campbell?
Interesting.
I learned that last night from our friend Eric Eager.
Oh, okay.
We were talking about some of the connections through the struggling offenses right now in the NFL, which I tweeted it yesterday. Very interesting one when it links the 3 teams that have no wins right now. Obviously the Jaguars, the Titans, and the Bengals. Zach Taylor and Press Taylor, brothers. And then the other is Brian Callahan, who coached under Zach Taylor and at the Bengals for a while. And so I tweeted it, and all the Bears fans were like, okay, well, what about Shane Waldron? Because he's sucking too. Oh, Shane Waldron was with Taylor at the Rams when he was like the Rams tight end coach or something like that. I was like, this tree, can we have the Shanahan tree and not this weird broken branch tree right now?
I'm going to refrain from comment. More so, I saw that tweet and I was just like, wow, wasn't me who sent it. Let the record show. It was thrown out there by somebody else in Cincinnati.
Before we say hello to XL Primetime, Taylor, we have our giveaway.
We do. Lunch for two to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 5 today.
All right, caller number 5, 641-1010. Yeah. It's been a spirited show, mainly because we didn't have to talk only depressing Jaguars football today.
And we didn't even have to talk about today. Yeah, we didn't even get to talk a little bit of baseball as well, which I know in these parts, obviously the focus is always going to be football this time of the year. But I know personally, Lauren, I hadn't watched a Yankees game from start to finish until last night in probably 2 months. So yeah, it was like, oh, I forgot Gleyber Torres is actually hitting now. Oh, I forgot Dominguez is the greatest young player under the age of 25 in Major League Baseball. That's hyperbole, folks. So, yeah, you know what? We got WNBA playoffs. It's okay. It's the middle of the week.
Yeah.
There's no football. We do have college football tomorrow. And, of course, we have, as Leon Searcy gets ready to enter the room, we do have Miami Hurricane football on Friday as well. So it's going to be okay, everyone. It's going to be okay.
More importantly than the Yankees on the MLB front, Mia, is that the White Sox had the chance to set the MLB record for most losses last night, and they had an 8th inning comeback and ended up winning. There was like 13,000 fans, I heard, that went there because they were like, this is cool. We can see history as the White Sox lose again. And then they won.
Then they were chanting, sell the team. Right. They're chanting, sell the team. It's coming through on the television broadcast, which has been highly criticized since Jason Benetti was let go.
And they're booing. They won, and there's like fireworks, and the fans are booing because they wanted to seal the loss.
All right, let's say hello to Leon Searcy.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers. Discover BioTarget Regenerative Therapy, a safer drug-free solution for lasting pain relief. Visit GoBioTarget.com.
You've never been booed, right?
Of course. My first game back to Pittsburgh in '96. Oh my God, it was deafening. You know, that was back in the day where they introduced you individually.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So you really knew it was about you then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we got beat 28-3.
I was going to say it's a little somehow like cathartic, Leon, to laugh at someone else's futility right now. Like, agreed, right? I mean, I know you went, oh stop! I can't believe that's happening in Chicago.
No, I don't laugh at other people's pain. I get no pleasure in that.
You're a better person than me.
You laugh at Florida's Florida's pain and Florida State's pain.
Yeah, but after a while, you know, what's the point?
Yeah.
You're taking the high road.
I am.
I like that.
Because listen, you got to rep the state now. I mean, after the first couple of losses, I was like, okay, now you got to represent the state now.
Yeah, well,
you sound like an SEC fan when you said that.
I'm a Floridian.
Karma, it's a real thing. That's why Leon's taking the high road. And I am curious, Leon, are you taking Miami now minus 19.5 against Virginia Tech this week?
19.5?
That's a massive number.
That's a big number. They're at home. Virginia Tech is a quality team, but we've been scoring 50 points like crazy. Scares me a little bit. I'm not going to take the 19.
That's what I'm taking plus 19.5. Yeah, I'm picking Miami to win, obviously.
I'm picking them to win, too, but I'm not sure about 19.
That's a massive – and, look, I mean, they're putting up a lot of points, but you tell me, because last time we spoke to you here during Crosstalk this time last week, you had some concerns about South Florida.
I was. I was. I mean, especially at halftime. I mean, I was watching it at the cigar bar, and it was only 15-14, and I was like, let me get out of here. And when I got home, they were up 21. So I was like, then they did shut them out in the second half. So I was pleased with that. But I was nervous at first. Well, South Florida played them pretty good for at least half.
What is it, though, about Miami that they're able to turn it on all of a sudden?
I don't know. Something about, well, first of all, they start fast. The one knock that I had on this team earlier, the last couple of years, they were slow, methodical. But now they start fast, and they come in at halftime, they make the adjustments, and then they play even faster. So that's a testament to tomorrow in his coaching staff.
I think Cam Ward, too. I think that's one thing we saw week one when they were playing Florida. He just it doesn't look like anything phases him. Like, even when things don't go perfectly, it just looks like he's like, okay, I'll just go out there and do it again.
Yeah, he's too chill for me. He is really. He's too chill for me. But, hey, he's a hell of a player. Hell of a player.
Leon, what's coming up?
Well, we're going to do our XLP college football brackets, our top 12. We do it every week. And then we've got Rick coming on at 3.
Was UNLV the group of 5 member that was in last week?
Who did I have in last week? I may have I don't want to say I had Liberty.
Okay. Just because UNLV's quarterback decided not going to play anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think you guys are going to get into that today,
NIL
too.
Fulfilled, yeah.
Oh.
So
Wow.
if anybody had a UNLV, probably check them out.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Leon.
Appreciate it.
We'll be listening. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Appreciate Lance Zierlein hopping on with us today. For me, O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you on Friday, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is next.